All right, today we're going to be talking about Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 26 in particular. Now, Proverbs 25 through 29 are actually written for mature believers of the faith. Last week we did a couple Proverbs, and they were from the first set, which are 1 through 9, which are actually written to the little ones of the faith, or the youth of the faith. And so we gave something for the kids, and now we're going to give something for the more mature believers, of the faith. So we're going to jump into chapter 26 and see what it has to offer us. Proverbs 26:1 says, like snow in summer or rain in harvest, honor is not fitting for a fool. Like snow in summer or rain in harvest, honor is not fitting for a fool. And that word honor there is kabod, and it means to be heavy, or can speak to an abundance. It can speak to, something that's valuable. It's the very same word for glory. That's translated as glory elsewhere. Speaks to something being valuable. So saying like snow in the summer is not valuable. Rain during the harvest is not valuable. Honor is not fitting for a fool, right? To exemplify this, we're going to take a look at a parable of Yahshua's. Can I have my first reader read Luke 12:16 through 21, please?
And he spake a parable unto them, saying, the ground of a certain rich man brought forth plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do, because I have no room where to bestow my fruits? And he said, this will I do. I will pull down my barns and build greater, and there I will bestow all my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But Elohim said unto him, thy fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself, and is it not rich toward Elohim?
Hallelujah. I must admit that when I was younger in the faith, I stumbled at this passage. Because when I read it, it speaks to exactly the game plan for most people in America. This is exactly what most people in America are seeking to do. They're seeking to say, so thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. This is the epitome of what retirement is about. Folks, retirement pensions and retirement funds and so on and so forth, is centered around this idea. It's centered around, one building nice big barns and filling them so that they can live, quote unquote golden years out and be merry, eat and drink and have it ease. So when I originally would see this passage, I used to stumble at it, and I had to put it on the shelf. But now today I understand it more. So it says, and the key is verse 21. So is he that layeth up treasure for himself and is not rich toward Elohim. So in other words, it's good to acquire things in the material world, but even more so to have riches towards Elohim. And if Elohim has given you, such as this guy, and since it's centered around this certain rich man who brought forth plentifully, first of all, take note that he was already rich. Now he brought forth plentifully. Yah blessed him, because he had, and Yah blessed him with even more. which Yah does say he will do that, didn't he? You know, so he blessed them with even more. You know, but instead of this guy saying, okay, well, you know, Yah has blessed me, so let me bless Yah back by blessing some of his people, you know, by doing good with it. You know, since my barns aren't big enough as is, seeing that he was rich, we already know his barns had to be sizable to begin with. You know, so instead of him saying, you know, hey, let me take of this goodness that Yah has bestowed upon me and give to his glory, you know, he says, you know, I'm going to build bigger barns so I won't have to work as long. You know, and not taking into account that tomorrow is not promised. And so, tomorrow he did not see. Yah said, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee. Then who shall those things be which thou hast provided? So is he that layeth up treasure for himself and is not rich toward Elohim. So in your getting, you know, and trying to put away for a rainy day or put away for your retirement fund, do not leave out, you know, putting something away to be rich toward Elohim as well. You know, we see in Romans 11:33, Apostle Paul says, oh, the depth of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of Elohim, how unsearchable are his judgments and his ways past finding out. You know, this is the spiritual riches that we should be seeking after. The wisdom and knowledge of Elohim and the unsearchable ways of his judgments and his ways in which he would have us live, move, and have our being. Amen. You know, this is the true riches of this world. Proverbs 26:2 says, like a flitting sparrow, like a flying swallow, so a curse without cause shall not alight. I like the way the King James says, a curse causeless shall not come.
Yeah.
You know, but I just couldn't avoid this beautiful picture of this sparrow. Or is that a swallow? Bird. Hallelujah.
It's a bird.
You know, the word curse is actually kalala, number 7045, and the pictographic meaning of it is to gather to the staff. The staff speaks to the shepherd's staff, and the staff was what the shepherd used to discipline the sheep, as well as to gather them, to teach them, you know, so on and so forth. But he also used it to discipline them, to teach them as well. You know, so here it is saying, so a curse causeless shall not come, is speaking to, you know, the correction of Elohim, you know, shall not come without a cause. You know, like a flitting sparrow, or a sparrow that goes off course, you know, that's wandering. That's what the word speaks to, you know. So it's speaking of one who wanders out of the way of Elohim, you know, or like a flying swallow, you know, who gets a little too far off path. You know, that's when correction comes. You know, so Yah is saying here in Proverbs 26:2, you know, that correction doesn't come without a cause. You know, and we be good to keep that in mind. You know, for when we go against the will, way, and purpose of Yah that Yah has upon our life, you know, because he loves us, correction will come. We have story to exemplify this as well. To exemplify curse causeless shall not come. Let me have my next reader read 2 Samuel 12:10-11, jump down to 15, and then 13:10 through 14, please.
Now therefore the sword shall never depart from thine house, because thou hast despised me, and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be thy wife. Thus saith Yahuwah, behold, I will rise up evil against thee out of thine own house, and I will take thy wives before thine eyes, and give them unto thy neighbor, and he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of the sun. Verse 15. And Nathan departed unto the house, and Yahuwah struck the child that Uriah's wife bare unto David, and it was very sick. 13. And Ammon said unto Tamar, Bring the meat into the chamber, that I may eat of thine hand. And Tamar took the cakes which she had made, and brought them into the chamber to Amnon, her brother. And when she had brought them into him to eat, he took hold of her, and said unto her, Come lie with me, my sister. And she answered him, Nay, my brother, do not force me, for no such thing ought to be done in Israel. Do not thou this folly. And I, whither shall I cause my shame to go? And as for thee, thou shalt be as one of the fools in Israel. Now therefore, I pray thee, speak unto the king, for he will not withhold me from thee. Howbeit, he would not hearken unto her voice, but being stronger than she, forced her and lay with her.
Okay, now all these horrible things happened in David's life because of what he done with Bathsheba. Now, you know, we all know the story of Bathsheba, how he seen Bathsheba, desired her, brought her on home, sent for her, went into her, got her pregnant, and then to cover up his sin, he had her husband slain. You know, and this is verse 10 is speaking to the result of that. You know, Yah has put a curse upon David's life. It says, Now therefore the sword shall never depart from thine house, because thou hast despised me and hast taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be his wife, to be thy wife. Thus saith Yahweh, Behold, I will raise up evil against thee out of thine own house, and I will take thy wives before thine eyes and give them unto thy neighbor, and he shall lie with thy wives in the sight of this son. You know, he done this thing covertly, but Yah was saying he was going to do it openly. And so it is, you know, we see he struck the kid to die. So because of the sin of David, you know, a kid had to die, you know, from this curse. Amnon said to his to Tamar, Amnon ends up raping his daughter again as a result of this curse. You know, and then also in 13:30 through 32, we have some more things that transpire. I'm going to next read 2 Samuel 13:30 through 32, and then jump down to 38 and 39, and then the other remaining verses.
And it came to pass, while they were in the way, that tidings came to David, saying, Absalom hath slain all the king's sons, and there is not one of them left. Then the king arose and tare his garments, and lay on the earth, and all his servants stood by him with their clothes rent. And Jonadab, the son of Shema, David's brother, answered and said, Let not my Adonai suppose that they have slain all the young men, the king's son. For Amnon only is dead. For by the appointment of Absalom, this hath been determined from the day that he forced his sister Tamar. So Absalom fled and went to Geshur, and was there 3 years. And the soul of King David longed to go forth unto Absalom, for he was confronted concerning Amnon, seeing he was dead. For he was comforted concerning Amnon, seeing he was dead. 2 Samuel 15:9-10. And the king said unto him, Go in peace. So he arose and went to Hebron. But Absalom sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, As soon as ye hear the sound of the trumpet, then ye shall say, Absalom reigneth in Hebron. 2 Samuel 16:22. So they spread Absalom a tent upon the top of the house, and Absalom went in unto his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel.
Okay, so we see the curse continues on in David's life. You know, first of all, he gets news that Absalom has slain all the king's sons, and there is not one of them left. And it says, and then the king arose and tear his garments and lay on the earth, and all his servants stood by with their clothes rent. Now, can you imagine what was going through his head when he got this news, and how tore up he would have been behind this news? Now, we don't really know exactly how long it was from when he got this news until Yonadab, the son of Shemiah, David's brother, came in and said, let not my Adonai suppose that they have slain all the young men of the king's sons, for Amnon only is dead. And he goes on to tell them that this was a plot and a plan, Absalom, that he had determined since the day that Amnon had raped his sister. Okay, so here it is. Now we see someone else done died. First, a newborn baby that no one really knew died, but still it was a baby died, and someone had to be raped, and now here it is, a son had died, all behind this guy's sin, and it tells us, that he went into Gershur, and then David had to suffer with missing his other son that had done this horrible act. Then he brings him back, and then he commits treason. He sent spies throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, as soon as you hear the trumpet, then say Absalom reigneth in Hebron. There's a new sheriff in town, new king here. And so this is what they done, run David out of town, and then he goes into all his concubines, in the sight of all Israel, So here it is, all his concubines get raped in front of everyone. What an ugly thing, this curse had brought upon this family. And if we want to take it a step further, because it did say, now the sword shall never depart from thine house, did it not? Messiah is from what lineage? David. And he was betrayed by his own. The only Yahudim that he chose to be chose to be his disciple, which was supposed to be a type of brother, betrayed him. And then the Yahudim crucified him. So we see this curse still going on, all the way up to the time of the Messiah. All because of this one man's sin. Now, when you consider this curse in conjunction with Proverbs 26:2, just in case you forgot what Proverbs 26:2, it says, like a flitting sparrow, like a flying swallow, so a curse causeless shall not come, right? Now, when you consider this curse of David in conjunction with Proverbs 26:2, and the course of events that follow, seeing that a curse causeless shall not come, it really seemed to paint the picture that David may have actually raped Bathsheba. I don't know, just food for thought. For Yah kills the baby, which was born of sin, which was justified any way you look at it. It was the result of sin, and in order for that kingdom to stay righteous some type of way, that would have had to be addressed, and Yah addressed it in grand fashion. But also, Yah showed David how it felt to have a daughter raped. And I think that's revelatory as well. Also, Yah showed David how it felt to lose a full-grown son after you've raised him and have grown to love him and cherish him. Such as Uriah's parents would have felt. And hypothetically, if Bathsheba was raped, how her parents would have felt to have their daughter taken advantage of at the very least. Then he showed David how it felt to have his very own wives or that is concubines, that he loved and cherished to be raped. Not in secret, but in front of everyone. He totally humiliated David. You know, and not to mention, you know, I forget my man's name that would begin to throw the rocks at him.
Oh.
Shimei. Yeah, that's revelatory as well. You know, because that's how Uriah died. You know, well, he was actually shot with an arrow, but he sent him up to the wall, which they know those who go close to the wall, oftentimes they throw stones down and kill him. You know, but just so happened that they shot him with an arrow. But point being, you know, he showed him how it felt. You know, so you take these things into account, it begins to paint a picture. Let's go on to Proverbs 26:3, which is the proverb of the day. Says, a whip for the horse, a bridle for the donkey, and a rod for the backs of fools. That's pretty self-explanatory. For all those fools out there, you know, you better have a strong back because it's going to get whacked time and time again. You know, the whip is for the horse, the bridle is for the donkey, you know, and the rod for the backs of fools. And, you know, God says don't spare the rod, so you know he's not going to spare it. Proverbs 26:4, do not answer a fool according to his folly, or you will be like him yourself. Yeah. You know, very, very wise counsel. You know, and you can see that these are some, you know, some mature issues. You know, because here it is. You know, one would have to discern as to whether or not they're dealing with a fool to begin with. But you know, it gives you wisdom concerning that too. You know, but don't answer a fool according to his folly, or you'll be just like him yourself. Somebody on the outside looking in, they won't be able to tell who's the fool. Both of you will look like two fools. You know, we have an example of this from Scripture. My next reader, please. Yochanan 19:4-9.
John 19. John 19, verse 4. Pilate therefore went forth again, and saith unto them, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that ye may know that I find no fault in him. Then came Yahushua forth, wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe. And Pilate saith unto them, Behold the man. When the chief priests therefore and officers saw him, they cried out, saying, Crucify him, crucify him. Pilate saith unto them, Take ye him and crucify him, for I find no fault in him. The Jews answered him, We have a law, and by our law he ought to die, because he made himself the son of Elohim. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was the more afraid, and went again into the judgment hall, and said unto Yahushua, Whence art thou? But Yahushua gave him no answer.
Okay, now here it is. We have Pilate as the fool here. You know, now Pilate already had got a warning from his wife, who was a believer, and had a dream and told him, you know, not to be partake in anything that have nothing to do with Yahshua. You know, so he already had a staunch warning that he was aware of. You know, there. So, and then it says, you know, Pilate goes forth and saith unto them, Behold, I bring him forth that ye may know that I find no fault with him. He absolutely found no fault with him. You know, so here it is. He had the warning, and he literally didn't find any fault with him. Okay, then they bring him forth, and when the chief priest, therefore, and the officers saw him, they cried out, Crucify him. You know, but Pilate says, you know, Take ye him, you take him, and you crucify him. He don't want nothing to do with it, just like his wife told him. He said, I found no fault in him. You know, y'all do what y'all want to do. That's on y'all. You know, and then the Yahudim said, we have a law, and by our law he ought to die. Well, why ought he to die? Because he made himself the son of Elohim. And when Pilate heard that saying, he was even more afraid. Now his wife done had this dream. Here it is. They talking about that he said he was the son of Elohim, and now he knows all the other stories that come along with it. He done heard he healed every type of sickness known to man. He done raised the dead, made the blind see, the deaf hear, the lame walk, and here it is. He says he's the son of Elohim, and he's doing things only Elohim can do. You know, yeah, if I was Pilate, I'd be scared too. You know, and he even said that he was the son of Elohim. You know, and it says, you know, so he was even more afraid. And then he asked him, you know, whence art thou? You know, where you come from? But Yahshua give him no answer, because only a fool would ask such a thing after knowing all that. You know, after knowing someone done raised the dead, they done healed the blind, they done made the deaf hear, the lame walk. I mean, what else do one have to do to show that they're divine? Yeah. You know, and so Proverbs 26:5 says, answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. You know, so Proverbs 26:4 said, you know, actually spoke to not answering a fool in his folly. You know, lest you be, you know, deemed foolish as he is. You know, now 26:5 in our respects, the Targum, that is the Aramaic version, actually says, but speak with a fool in thy wisdom. And the Syriac version says, yea, speak with a fool according to thy wisdom, you know, instead of saying answer a fool according to his folly. You know, so these other two versions actually speak to speaking to the fool in accordance to wisdom, lest he be wise in his own conceit. And this word conceit is actually IE number 5869, meaning the I. So it's actually saying, you know, should be saying something like, speak to a fool with wisdom, lest he be wise in his own eyes. You know, and that would be a better interpretation of Proverbs 26:5. And so we have Yahushua doing just that. In Yochanan 19:10-16, it says, then saith Pilate unto him, speakest thou not unto me? Knowest thou not I have the power to crucify thee and have power to release thee? Sounds just like a fool. You know, now you know that this man done all these things. And you talking to him about what power you have. You know, Yahushua answered in verse 11. He said, thou couldst have no power at all against me except it were given thee from above. Therefore he that delivered me unto thee hath the greater sin. And from thenceforth Pilate sought to release him. He was a fool, but he wasn't that big a fool. He was trying to release him, but the Yahudim cried out, saying, if thou let this man go, thou art not Caesar's friend. So maybe he was that big a fool, because whosoever maketh himself a king speaketh against Caesar. Then Pilate therefore heard that saying and brought Yahushua forth, because he was afraid for his own life, and sat down in the judgment seat in the place that is called the pavement, but in the Hebrew, Gabbatha, or Gabbatha. Now, and it was the preparation of the Passover, and about the 6th hour, and he said unto the Yahudim, behold your king. But they cried, away with him, crucify him. Pilate said, shall I crucify your king? The chief priests answered, we have no king but Caesar. Then they delivered him therefore unto to be crucified, and they took Yahushua and led him away. You know, so here it is. We have the fool-fearing man more so than fearing man more so than fearing Elohim, and that's a foolish thing to do. Proverbs 26:6. He who sends his message by the hand of a fool cuts off his own feet and drinks violence. You know, now these words "send a message" could also be interpreted as transact business. You know, and this is something good to know. You know, he who sends someone sends a message by the hand of a fool, he who transacts business by the hands of a fool cuts off his own feet and drinks violence. You know, you can very well, you know, see in your mind's eye how this could come about. This proverb is trying to get us to, in the King James it says damage, drinks damage. But that word damage is kamas, number 2555, and it means violence. So this is a better translation. It says this proverb, this proverb is trying to get us to properly consider those we choose to represent us. We shouldn't just choose anyone to represent us. Amen. We should try to choose people who have a little wisdom. Don't send no fool to represent you, because then you're going to be looked upon as foolish. And some people just, choose whoever's available. Not a good idea. It's better to wait for someone who has a little sense, who's wise, rather than to send a fool. The legs of the lame are not equal. So is a parable in the mouth of fools. Now this word parable here is actually marshal, number 4912, and it actually speaks to a proverb, a pithy maxim. So the legs of the lame are not equal, so is a proverb in the mouth of fools. And we have fools that take proverbs in their mouth all the time. But they're not equal. Here it is, you got someone that's a fool actually saying something wise. That's like, right, an oxymoron, peanut butter and olives. They just don't go together, Proverbs 26:8. As he that bindeth a stone in a sling, so is he that giveth honor to a fool. I had to think about this for a second, and when I thought about it, I couldn't do nothing but laugh, because, if you bind up a stone in a sling, you make it so that it won't come out when you let that sling go. It's gonna come back and hit you in the eye. So is he that giveth honor to a fool. It's gonna come back and bite him, in other words. Like a thorn that goes into the hand of a drunkard is a proverb in the mouth of fools. And this, in the King James, it says parable here too, but they correctly translated it as proverb here. Again, the word is marshal. Like a thorn that goes into the hand of a drunkard. A drunkard don't even feel the thorn going into his hand. He's so drunk. Is the proverb in the mouth of the fool. The fool, he has the wise saying in his mouth, but he don't recognize it. Just like the drunk don't recognize the thorn in his thumb, in his hand. Proverbs 26:10. The great Elohim that formed all things both rewardeth the fool and rewardeth transgressors. And we have a scriptural example that speaks to those last proverbs. It's taken from 2 Kings 18, 21 through 26. My next reader, please.
Now behold, thou trustest upon the staff of this bruised reed, even upon Egypt, on which if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh king of Egypt unto all that trust on him. But if ye say unto me, we trust in Yahuwah our Elohim, is not that he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah hath taken away, and hath said to Judah and Jerusalem, Ye shall worship before this altar in Jerusalem? Now therefore I pray thee, give pledges to my lord the king of Assyria, and I will deliver thee 2,000 horses, if thou be able on thy part to set riders upon them. How then wilt thou turn away the face of one captain of the least of my master's servants, and put thy trust on Egypt for chariots and for horsemen? Am I now come up without Yahuwah against this place to destroy it? Yahuwah said unto me, Go up against this land and destroy it. Then said Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, and Shebna, and Joah, unto Rabshakeh, Speak, I pray thee, to thy servants in the Syrian language, for we understand it, and talk not with us in the Jews' language in the ears of the people that are on the wall.
Okay, now just a backdrop to this. This is the king of Syria. The king of Syria had sent his messenger Rabshakeh, which was a fool. Yeah, he was a fool. And to give a message to Hezekiah. And he says, now behold, thou trusteth upon the staff of this bruised reed, speaking about Mitzrayim. So you see, he's using parables here. Proverbs. I trusted in the staff of bruised reed, even upon Mitzrayim, upon which if a man lean, it will go through his hand and pierce it. And he says, so is Pharaoh, the king of Mitzrayim, unto all that trust him. And maybe that was so, but he goes on to say, but if ye say unto me, we trust in Yahuwah our Elohim, it's not that he whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah has taken away and have said to Yahudah and Jerusalem, ye shall worship before this altar in Jerusalem. See, now he was, getting into some things he didn't really know about, So, fool just run his mouth and didn't even know what he was talking about, what Hezekiah had done was taking down all, he did take down all the altars, but that was against Yah's word, so he took down all them, and he says, now I come up, he said in verse 25, and this was a proverb here, because this was a pithy maxim, if you would. In verse 25, he says, am I now come up without Yahuwah against this place to destroy it? Because truly, if he was to destroy it, Yahuwah would have had to be with him. Yahuwah would have had to have allowed it. Because no one can come up against Yah's people unless he allows them. And as a punishment or some type of correction for them. But Yahuwah said unto me, go up against this land and destroy it. So, we get a full credit. He said a couple of things that was okay. My next read verses 27 through 33.
But Rabshakeh said unto them, has my master sent me to your master and to you to speak these words? Has he not sent me to the men who sit on the wall, that they may eat their own dung and drink their own piss with you? Then Rabshakeh stood and cried with a loud voice in the Yehudim language, and spoke, saying, hear the word of the great king, the king of Assyria. Thus says the king, let not Chizkiyahu deceive you, for he shall not be able to deliver you out of his hand. Neither let Chizkiyahu make you trust in Yahuwah, saying, Yahuwah will surely deliver us. And this city shall not be delivered into the hand of the king of Assyria. Hearken not to Chizkiyahu, for thus says the king of Assyria, make an agreement with me by a present. Come out to me, and eat every man of his own vine, and every one of his fig tree, and drink every one the waters of his cistern, until I come and take you away to a land like your own land, a land of corn and wine, a land of bread and vineyards, a land of olive oil and of honey, that you may live and not die. And hearken not unto Chizkiyahu when he persuades you, saying, Yahuwah will deliver us. Has any of the gods, the mighty ones of the nations, delivered us at all his land out of the hand of the king of Assyria?
So here it is. We have Rabshakeh. He goes on to run his mouth some more. Hear the word of the king of the great king, the king of Assyria. Thus saith the king, let not Hezekiah deceive you, for he shall not be able to deliver you. Neither let yet Hezekiah make you trust in Yahuwah, saying Yahuwah will surely deliver us. See, now this is where he's overstepping his boundaries. This is where the foolishness began to pour forth from him. Hearken not unto Hezekiah, for thus saith the king of Assyria. He's talking about what the king of Assyria says, and then the foolishness comes out of him again in verse 32. And hearken not unto Hezekiah when he persuadeth you, saying, Yahuwah will deliver us. Have any other gods of the nations delivered at all his land out of the hand of the king of Assyria? So now you're speaking as if that Yahuwah cannot defend his people. Like the king of Assyria is greater than Yahuwah. Like it's not possible for him to deliver his people. And that's where he messed up. It goes on to say in verses 25 through 28, hast thou not heard long ago? This is Yahuwah's response to Rabshakeh. He says, have thou not heard long ago how I have done it in of ancient times, that I have formed it, how I have brought to pass that thou shouldest be to lay waste fenced cities and to ruinous heaps? Therefore the inhabitants were of small power. They were dismayed and confounded. They were as the grass of the field, and as the green herb, and as the grass of the housetops, and as the corn blasted before it be grown up. But I know thy abode, and thy going out and coming in, and thy rage against me. Because thy rage against me and thy tumult has come up into my ears, therefore I will put my hook in thy nose, and my bridle in thy lips, and I will turn thee back the way which thou camest. You know, and so he did, and he ended up not only slaying 185,000, you know, of the Syrians, but also Rabshakeh himself. You know, now we have Proverbs 26, where are we at? 11. Like a dog that returns to his vomit, so a fool repeats his foolishness. Like a dog that returns to his vomit, so a fool repeats his foolishness. And this is how we can know a fool. We know a fool gonna keep doing the same things over and over again, you know, that he should not be doing. That life has been teaching him that he should not be doing, yet he's gonna keep on doing them. Proverbs 26:12. Seest thou a man wise in his own conceit? And again, this word conceit speaks to the eye. So it's actually speaking of, seest thou a man wise in his own eyes? There is more hope of a fool than of him. You know, yeah, he's wise to himself. Luke 20, verses 9 through 16. My next reader, please.
Then began he to speak to the people this parable. A certain man planted a vineyard and let it forth to husbandmen, and went into a far country for a long time. And at the season he sent a servant to the husbandmen, that they should give him of the fruit of the vineyard. But the husbandmen beat him and sent him away empty. And again he sent another servant, and they beat him also, and entreated him shamefully, and sent him away empty. And again he sent a third, and they wounded him also, and cast him out. Then said the Lord of the vineyard, What shall I do? I will send my beloved son. It may be they will reverence him when they see him. But when the husbandmen saw him, they reasoned among themselves, saying, This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, that the inheritance may be ours. So they cast him out of the vineyard and killed him. What therefore shall the Lord of the vineyard do unto them? He shall come and destroy these husbandmen, and he shall give the vineyard to others. And when they heard it, they said, Elohim forbid.
You know, this made me chuckle, you know, because, you know, Yahshua gives this parable, right? And he's giving it to the scribes and the Pharisees, and they acknowledge, you know, what he says, and he asked them, you know, so what therefore shall the Adonai of the vineyard do unto them? And they say out of their own mouths, He shall come and destroy these husbandmen, and shall give the vineyard to others. And when they heard it, that is, when they understood it, you know, then they said, Elohim forbid. You know, so they already pointed out what's going to happen to them, you know, and what was just to happen to them, you know, but then they say, Elohim forbid, you know, they didn't want it to happen to them, you know, once they realized he was talking about them, in fact, you know, if it was somebody else, just like David, when he, you know, when he was presented by Nathan with, you know, what he had done, he was like, oh, you know, that guy's terrible, kill him. You know, he should surely die and pay four times the amount. And then, you know, Nathan tell him, well, it's you. Then his jaw hit the floor. You know, so similar to what's going on here. You know, now Proverbs 26 is going to speak to laziness. You know, and I just thought this picture was just the epitome of laziness. You know, you can see the guy was painting the line, and he was too lazy to move the branch out the way. he was supposed to be too lazy to remove the branch out the way, or the guy in the machine driving was too lazy to move the branch out the way and just went around it. You know. The lazy man says, "There's a lion in the road, a fierce lion in the streets." And of course, that's his excuse not to go out there and do nothing. You know, as the door turns, Proverbs 26:14, as the door turns on his hinges, so does the slothful on his bed. Back and forth, not getting out though. Honey, can I get a little help here? The sluggard buries his hands in the dish. He is too lazy to bring it back to his mouth.
Oh my.
Now, the King James has bosom, you know, but the word bosom there is zalakaha, number 6747. It means something advanced or deep. That is a bowl, you know, and this is where they get this from. What the proverb is teaching us is that the sluggard will, when he will work for, rather than work for his food, he'd rather have someone come and feed him. You know, he don't want to work for his food. He'd rather have someone feed him. And hence, we see elsewhere in Proverbs where it says, you know, if man shall not work, he shall not eat. You know, and this kind of goes in conjunction with this. You know, he puts his hands in the bowl, you know, but he don't even want to take his hand out of the bowl to feed himself. You know, he's too lazy to do what's needed in order that he might eat. The sluggard is wiser in his own conceit, again, in his own eyes, than 7 men that can render a reason. So here it is, you have 7 guys giving him every justification, every reason, you know, what to believe otherwise, but the sluggard is wiser in his own eyes. You know, no, I'm going to do it my way. You know, it's easier. You know, I'm just going to lay here. You know, and that was Proverbs 26:16. Matthew 25:14 through 22 says, "For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. And unto one he gave 5 talents, and to another 2, and to another 1, and every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made them other 5 talents. And likewise he that had received 2, he also gained other 2. But he that received 1 went and digged in the earth, and hid his Adonai's money. After a long time the Adonai of those servants cometh, and reckoneth with them. And so he that had received 5 talents came and brought other 5 talents. And Adonai, thou deliverest unto me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained besides them 5 talents more. And his Adonai said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Adonai. He also that had received 2 talents came and said, Adonai, thou deliveredest unto me 2 talents. Behold, I have gained other 2 talents beside them. His Adonai said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Adonai. Then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Adonai, I knew that thou wert out of hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid, and I went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, there thou hast that is thine. His Adonai answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest that I reap where I sowed not, and gather where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. Take therefore the talent from him, and give it unto him which hath 10 talents. For every one that hath shall be given, and he that hath abundance from him. For everyone that hath, that shall be given, and he that hath abundance from him that have not shall be taken away, even that which he hath. And cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. Therefore there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So, you know, the moral here is, don't be lazy, don't be unprofitable. If you just do what you're called to do, there's no profit in that. You know, you just done what you're supposed to do. You know, it's just like bringing he gave you a talent, and you know, you brought him back that 1 talent. But when you do over and beyond what you're called to do, you're like the one who had 2 talents and brought him 4. You know, he wasn't expecting nothing but the 2, but you brought him 4. You were profitable to him. Or like the one who had 5 and brought him 10. You know, he knew he only gave you 5, so he wasn't really expecting nothing but 5, but you brought him 10. So you were profitable unto him. So he rewards thee accordingly. But those who just do what they're called to do, you know, there's no profit in that. You know, they're unprofitable. And so the slothful one was cast into outer darkness. Proverbs 26:17, he that passeth by and meddleth with strife belongeth not to him, is like one that taketh a dog by the ears. You know, you don't want to take a dog, especially this killer right here. You know, you don't want to take a dog by the ears, you know. Right, which one? They both look like killers, huh? You know, and it's truly not wise to meddle in other people's affairs, you know. And we see people who do that, and it doesn't end nicely oftentimes. You know, so this is some great wisdom right here. Proverbs 26:18 and 19, like a madman who throws firebrands, arrows, and death is the man who deceives his neighbor and says, I was only joking. You know, the word deceiver here is Rhema number 74:11, meaning to hurl or shoot. So it's actually speaking about, you know, it's the man who shoots his neighbor and says, I was only joking. He's like a madman. He throws firebrands, arrows, and death, and he shoots his neighbor and says, I was only joking. You know, no. You know, so we don't want to fall into that, definitely. Proverbs 26:20, another proverb of the day. Without wood, a fire goes out. Without a gossip, a quarrel dies down. That's great wisdom right there. You know, take away the gossip, a lot of the quarrels just dies right on out. You know, gossip is fuel to the fire when it comes to quarreling. That's why you always hear them say, he said or she said. You know, don't nobody get it firsthand. You know, he said, she said, and that's what get it all started. As charcoal to embers and as wood to fire, so is a quarrelsome man for kindling strife. You know, that's Proverbs 26:21. So, you know, you see someone who's quarrelsome, you know that he's going to cause strife in your life too. So keep him out your life. You know, this is what Proverbs teaches us. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. You know, so here it is, we're talking about a liar. You know, the words of a liar are as wounds, and they go down to the innermost parts of the belly. They can really hurt you. Proverbs 26:23, burning lips and a wicked heart are like a potsherd covered with silver dross. You know, just worthless. So it's burning lips with a wicked heart also. Proverbs 26:24, who hates pretends with his lips and stores up deceit within him. Who hates pretends with his, it's supposed to say lips, I don't know. Huh?
Oh, in the King James, he that hateth dissembleth with his lips.
Right. I don't know where
And layeth up deceit within him.
the word lips is supposed to be there, but we have some huge lips there, so, you know, who hates pretends with his lips and stores up deceit within. And we have a story to exemplify that, and it's taken from the book of Esther. And it says, and Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there's a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore it is not for the king's prophet to suffer them. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring it into the king's treasuries. And the king took his ring from the hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agite, the Yahudim's enemy. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. And then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants and to the governors that were over the province, and to the rulers of every people of every province according to the writing thereof, to every people after their language. In the name of the king Ahasuerus was it written and sealed with the king's ring. And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, to cause to perish all Yahudim, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. Now, here it is. We see the words of a talebearer. We see them telling lies on the Yahudim. It's not that it wasn't none of the Yahudim trying to keep the king's laws. You know, this was a tale. He didn't know all of them to even make that statement. You know, so he was being a talebearer here. You know, but even as the previous Proverbs spoke, the words of a talebearer are wounds. These lies cause real wounds that would have brought about the death of many people. And hence the Proverbs, burning lips of a wicked heart, plays into this too. And also the other proverb, he who hates pretends with his lips. You know, so here it is, or disassembler with his lips. You know, here it is, he's bringing harm with his words. You know, and had it set up for their whole nation to get wiped out. Proverbs 26:25, when he speak of fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. And also Proverbs 26:26, whose hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation. So whose hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation. And to exemplify this, we're going to stay right here in the book of Esther, picking it up from chapter 6, verses 6 through 10. So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done unto the man whom the king delighteth to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to do honor more than myself? Yeah, a fool would think that way, wouldn't he? And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delighteth to honor, let the royal apparel be brought, which the king useth to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown royal which is set upon his head. And let his apparel and the horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal whom the king delighteth to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighteth to honor. Then the king said unto Haman, make haste and take the apparel and the horse as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Yahudim, and that sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken. So here it is, we see such a one, when he speak of fear, there are 7 abominations in his heart. You know, he was saying this thing because he thought he was saying these wonderful things to do to someone who was to be honored by the king, because he thought it was going to be him. You know, even while he had these abominations in his heart for Mordecai, and it turns out that, you know, the one that be honored was Mordecai. And so it also shows whose hatred that was covered by deceit, his wickedness would be shown before all, because everyone would see the one that hated Mordecai have to lead Mordecai through the streets with the king's attire, with the crown on his head, and proclaiming how honored he was. You know, how humiliating that would have been for Haman. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it. That's Proverbs 26, 27a. And the other part of it says, he who rolls a stone will have it roll back on him. You know, and this is exactly what happens to our man Haman, the fool Haman. In Esther 7, 3 through 10, It says, then Esther, the queen, answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he? Where is he that durst presume to do in his heart to do so? And Esther said, the adversary and my enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king, arising from the banquet of the wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood to make request for his life to Esther the queen. And he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. For he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the palace of the banquet of wine, and Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was, and said, then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's head. That is not a good sign. And Harbona, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, stand up in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon. And they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified. So we see he who had rolled a stone had it to roll back on him. And he who had dug the pit actually fell into it. Amen. Proverbs 26:28. A lying tongue hates those it hurts, and a flattering mouth works ruin. Like when they lied on the Messiah, some of the same ones that was crying that Yah be crucified were also praising him when he was doing the miracles before their eyes, when he was making the lame walk and he was causing the dead to rise and he was doing all these wonderful things. These were the very same ones that was hailing him, saying, Hosea, 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 save now. And now here they were saying, crucify him. A lying tongue hates those it hurts, and a flattering mouth works ruin. So, be careful, when someone's always flattering you, when they always flattering you, buttering you up, because we're being told here, a flattering mouth works ruin. As soon as you turn your back, I can't stand her, these type of things go on. But that's all I have for you today. I pray it was a blessing to you.